Hey, what's going on, y'all? This is Aaron Burr from the Free Thought Doctrine. I have Manny back on the show today. We have a fresh episode here for you guys. We're going to talk about a number of topics. Manny, you want to say what's up?
What's up? Thanks for inviting me back again, bro.
No problem, man. No problem.
It's always a pleasure.
Cool. All right, so let's just get right into it. One of the stories that I've been kind of that's kind of gotten to me the last couple of days is started off for me when I saw a tweet from Spike Cohen, who is one of the leaders in the libertarian movement, and he had a tweet, and I ended up doing some digging because I wanted the receipts on this. But what I saw was, it says, yesterday the House passed a bill that included red flag laws, which lets government take your guns if someone even accuses you of being a potential threat. And so there's a second part to it, but that first part, I mean, most of us should know what red flag laws are at this point, right? That's basically someone could just make an accusation about you, and then the police, or they'll make an accusation about you to the courts, and then they'll issue essentially like a warrant kind of thing, right? Where the police will come, and in some cases even do no-knock warrants type things, right? But they come and they take your guns, and then, the due process is on the other side, right? They just take your guns, they knock on your door, and there's been cases where people literally died because they were like, no, and then, what else is going to happen, right? So that's what the red flag laws are. They're basically skipping over, not let alone the Second Amendment, but the Fourth Amendment, right? Gone, right? So, but the last part of his tweet is what really gets to me, and that was more than half of the Republicans in the House voted for it, right? And it's like, Republicans, let's see, aren't Republicans supposed to care about the Second Amendment? Because they sure as hell try to act like they do. And you would think that, you know what, I'm skipping a huge thing here, because this is not just red flag laws we're talking about, right? Because I went back and I did the research, because I was like, let me fact check this, right? Yeah. I was like, let me fact check this. And this just happened, so it was kind of hard to find stories or facts on this, but I started digging around, and one of the first things I see is, where is it at here? To this guy's credit, he's a congressman, but he had like a story he released on the 23rd, which was a couple days ago. So, but the headline of the story is from U.S. Congressman Gregory F. Murphy. Never heard of him, but he's a rep from the 2nd District of North Carolina. All right. Got to give credit where it's due. So, but the headline is Murphy condemns Democrat attempt to conceal red flag laws in NDAA. And what they did was they took this red flag provision and they stuck it into the fiscal year 2022 NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, and kind of hid it, or at least placed it into the bill, right? And this is the bill that gives funding to the military, right? So I started digging. I'm like, why would they put a red flag law into a national defense bill, right? I started digging around, started reading this, and came to realize. So from there, I kind of started looking up the NDAA bill, and what I saw was, I hate CNN, but it's literally the only thing that was written about it I could find. House votes to approve 2022 National Defense Authorization Act, National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022 with wide bipartisan support, right? So it was a vote of 316 to 113, right? So then I went back and I started looking up basically like the roll call on the bill, right? And so I go to the official house.gov, clerk.house.gov, and I see, there's just fact checking that tweet, right? Because I see, 316 to 113, and here you go. Democratic yeas 181, and then Republican yeas 135, nays 75. And,
So Over 2/3.
2/3.
That's solid. 2/3.
2/3. And then to top it off, though, I don't want to leave out the fact here. I'm trying to pull up the story. There is a story here. Like, you'd have to do a lot of digging. So this is from, there's several different gun websites out there, and this one's Bearing Arms. And in this article, what they're saying is that it's anybody so a service member, right? A service member, right, could have their right to possess a firearm taken away from them by a military court. So that's what's different about this, right? It's that there's several different red flag laws. I want to say it's a lot. It's like, maybe someone can fact check on me on this, but I believe it's like 18 to 20 states. I could be way overshooting it or way undershooting it, but that have red flag laws in the state. But what this just did was make it national for any military member, period, right? That a military court could take away their firearms.
Rights,
their rights with bypassing their due process rights. Because the thing is, with these red flag laws, after they strip you of your guns, right, you can appeal. So at least in the civilian ones, you can appeal, and it could take up to a year, if not longer, before you get them back, right? So rather than a court, I would still be against this, but say that they came to you and said, hey, in 30 days, we're going to come take your guns because you have this allegation against you or whatever. And so now it's on you to go to court and defend yourself, which would still be bullshit, right? Because now it's on you. But at least it'll give you some type of warning. But here it's just they just show up, hey, we're here to take your guns, and you can't do nothing about it whatsoever. And if you resist, like what has happened, they'll kill you, right?
So what the fuck is the end goal here? Because like, why would you put such a law into place? And also, like, well, first of all, these fucking Republicans are 2/3 that said that they're all about freaking the Second Amendment, but they just passed a red flag law. And for the military is like the bigger part of that cathedral, and also all these guys sleep in the same bed, and also the regular Joe the plumber out there doesn't know any different. He just thinks that the rep over there with voting, that he's gonna get the right person in, that they're just gonna appeal to them ever so slightly and then fuck them every other way.
So like you're saying, what's the end goal here?
Yeah.
Well, before we even say the end goal, because one thing I was just thinking about was going back and reading that article from this Republican guy, Murphy. But even then, it says, I'll go back and read the headline one more time, right? It says, Murphy condemns Democrat attempt to conceal red flag laws in NDAA. But 2/3 of the Republicans fucking voted for it. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do, is they take these huge fucking monstrous bills, like the NDAA, which is like, I mean, I could look it up, but it's like billions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Billions of dollars. And then so they put people in this predicament, like, because all these Republicans, I mean, I'm sure they voted for it because all these Republicans, quote unquote, they care so much about defense spending, because China, right? Like, right, all this stuff, right? And so they put them in this bind, like, oh, well, I can't, if I don't vote for this bill, then they could say that I'm not standing up for the military and national defense and blah, 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 right? So they put them in this bind because they put things in there like this but in reality, it's not really a bind, right? It's pretty simple. Like, are you in favor of denying, in this case in particular, military members their right to firearms and taking away their due process rights?
So that is what are they trying to do with these? And also, like, why would you try and disarm an armed forces member? So that's one of those things where, like, it's like, what are we doing? Like, do you think that we could run the police, like, the military like British police, where they don't have any weapons or anything like that? Or like, what? So what is an armed sentry gonna have if he has a fucking, like, if they see this bullshit red flag law and all this stuff, right?
I mean, I got the answer for you. This is what I think, right? So what I think is we've seen in the last 10 months or whatever, right? What is this? What are we at? September right now?
Yeah.
So 10 months. 10 months is a purge of particular people of a certain bent in the military, right? They've been trying to push people out, right? They're trying to push particular people out. And what am I talking about? Who am I talking about? So at the beginning of the year, it was all, they were using the January 6th, quote unquote, insurrection, right? And they're using all that fear mongering because they're like, oh, all these military members and former military members.
The two dudes, the two active duty dudes, the two dumbasses, like we're fucking
exactly. So
it was it Grunt and somebody else. And,
yeah. So they basically took that, and that's when they had this huge push about extremism.
Yeah.
Right, extremism training, and it was all this extremism training. In reality, what they meant by extremism training was anybody that outspokenly was for Trump. Right, that's what they meant. Any conservative or right-leaning member of the military, they're kind of putting a target on your back, right, and kind of intimidating you, because it was an attempt to push them out. Then, and there's another story here which also ties into this: the whole politicalization about the vaccine, right?
Yeah.
Where they at least try to pull the narrative, even though it's not necessarily true. Right, about the quote unquote anti-vaxxers, even though we know, because they try to make it sound like if you're an
first they said like, hey, first everybody was in solidarity with people now getting vaxxed because hey, we're all vax hesitant, especially something that was warp speed, into fucking existence, right? So all of a sudden, and now then they change the narrative to like, even if you see it out there, like from the same people who like who like empathize with the vaccinated, like the vax hesitant, and also which they still are vax hesitant. They're not anti-vaxxers because like anti-vaxxers, like they're not the same thing.
They're not the same thing. But what I'm saying is they've changed, at least made the narrative look like if you refuse, if you're vax hesitant or you don't want to get it or whatever, they're trying to tie that narrative into you're a redneck, hillbilly Trump supporter. Essentially, like it's a political thing. Like the conservatives don't want to. It's not necessarily like that in reality.
But in reality, a lot of those members are black,
exactly,
Hispanic.
No, you're right.
And people do use that example. Hey, I don't want this experiment on me because, like, look at the Tuskegee.
Absolutely.
Airmen fucking.
Exactly. But what I mean is they're using this narrative from January 6th about it was extremism training. It was Trump supporters. It's anti-vaxxers who are Trump supporters. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah. But,
and there's even a story here from the White House. In the NDAA bill, Biden came out against... I guess there's some sort of provision in there, and I guess I'd have to go back into the bill and see exactly what happened. But they're trying to push back because here's a headline from Fox News: White House opposes NDAA provision banning dishonorable discharge for COVID-19 vaccine refusal. Actually, you know what? I read that wrong. He strongly opposes the provision. So he opposes it.
So you see how that is kind of like confusing.
Yeah, it is confusing. That is confusing
because I think something came down to the commanding officers from the a message, and also because a lot of people are acting kind of sus when it comes to like because people are getting exemptions and also, but like they're not, like they're trying to get religious exemption, right? Because some people, I met a guy who's like really a devout Catholic, and he doesn't want to go through it. He has to talk to the chaplain, and so like, and to get approved for it, I was like, to me that was like, I'm like, does a man need to prove his faith to get it? What the fuck, like?
Yeah. No, well, I'm reading right now. So Section 716 of the NDAA would prohibit service members who are discharged over vaccine refusal from receiving anything other than an honorable discharge.
Yeah.
Noting that many Americans have reservations about, so it's saying, so what are they saying? Will prohibit
because they're not. The thing is like they don't want these guys to go to like non-judicial punishment because of this.
Yeah. Okay, see.
And and totally ruin their career. Because once you go like for was a bad conduct discharge or dishonorable discharge,
Yeah.
that kind of goes into your credit because that comes up on your credit, right?
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah, it comes up in your credit. You can't get a job. You basically can't. You have to work under the table for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Because no one's gonna hire you if you have a dishonorable discharge.
Yeah. It's supposed to be like a convict or something.
So that might be a little bit different than I was thinking, but I still think that based off the whole extremism thing, and people who oppose vaccines are Trump supporters, right?
Yeah.
At least that's the narrative. It's not true,
but that article just lets you know like what message they come down from up there from the leadership that now they're be like, hey, we're trying to make sure that these guys who are getting out because they don't want to get vaccines and all stuff, they don't get fucked over. Mm-hmm. Because for some reason, probably a message came down and these commanding officers are taking it another way.
Oh, so maybe they are trying to give people dishonorable discharges.
Yeah, because once you like get in trouble so many times, like they're gonna probably do a dishonorable discharge.
Yeah,
and they want to protect them from that, even though it's not a lawful order.
Yeah,
it's a lawful order, and they're disobeying it and all that. But they don't want them to if they just don't. So like if they just don't want to get the vaccine or anything, they just process them out.
Yeah. So, no, you're right. So, but I still think overall, regardless, whether it be the vax thing, whether it be the extremism training thing, the red flag laws is just a continuum of trying to push because here's the thing is who are generally speaking the most or the who is more than likely within the military, generally speaking, who has personal firearms in their homes.
The people who know their rights.
Yeah, of course, people know their rights. But that's reality. Yeah. But I'm saying, who are the people that they're going to paint the brush with? And that's going to be the same people as what I'm talking about, right? It's going to be quote-unquote conservatives, quote-unquote right-leaning people, quote-unquote Trump supporters, right? Yeah. So what I'm saying is another way they can try to get rid of those people.
Yeah, but
because here's the thing, as you said, if a sentry is supposed to have a gun on post, but now based off whatever, someone accused them of something, and now the military court takes away his firearms, and he can't have access to firearms. Now we have to kick him out. You see what I'm saying? It's part of the continuum because it is under my belief that they are trying to push certain people out, i.e. conservatives for the most part, at least anybody who's outspoken, right? They're forcing conformity, right? They're forcing conformity because they only want a certain type of person in the military.
No, the only thing that they're doing is radicalizing the military.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. Yeah.
Against them and all that. Like if the chief of the state bites back, then because by them. What the presence of force and all stuff will scare some people off.
Yeah,
but it's not gonna be everybody.
But see, what I think is happening though is that they know that, and that's why they're trying to get rid of those people. They only want the compliant sheep, right? At least that's their end goal. So these are the different attempts they're trying to use to get rid of those people because they only want people of one who think one way, or at least when they're outspoken about one way. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to purge the military, and I talked about this in one of my episodes, like 10 episodes back. How like 10 months ago, how they're trying to purge the military to like so it's only people who are on their side, if that makes sense, right? So that the people you're talking about, they're trying to push those people out, and this is another attempt. There's another tool in their tool bag to be like, oh, you know what? A lot of those guys have guns, right?
It's kind of like what Bush era. Everybody was a Republican.
Yeah,
everybody was. It kind of shifted now.
Yeah, it did shift.
It did shift, but when you have liberals and all that stuff like that in the military, that's I don't know. I think it's still the different mentality because like you're trying to push out the people because usually mentally, if you think about it, like conservatives are the ones that are more patriotic.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. The ones that were like, yeah, I'm joining because I love my fucking country and all this stuff, right? Yeah. So and liberals and all that, they just think it's just a job.
Yeah.
So do you want the whole military to think it's just a job, or do you want people who are dedicated to that thing? So that's why, like, I always think, like, I'm thinking, like, what's the goal here? Why are we doing this? Why is it this red flag shit? It's the most Vegas bullshit. And
what I'm saying is, I think that they, at the minimum, even if they have the conservatives in there, which these kind of things will, minimize as many of them being in there, right? Like only the most diehard ones are going to stay in, right?
Yeah.
Because what I'm saying is they're forcing silence and obedience through fear.
Yeah.
Right? They're scaring them they're trying to silence them. They're going to be there, but they want to silence them, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing is, a lot of people will say that, it's the Republicans and the conservatives that love the military, right?
Yeah.
But the reality is that the Democrats, like the mainstream Democrats, the mainstream liberal Democrats, even though they used to have the reputation of being anti-war and not liking the military, they in reality love the military because they love war.
Okay.
They love empire. They don't say it like how I'm saying it, but they love having, they love having a world hegemony, right?
Yeah.
Because they have different reasons in their head, like we're pushing liberal democracy around the world or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it's not so much a patriotic American thing. It's just more of a world police thing.
Yeah.
And pushing our viewpoint across the world and forcing our viewpoint by the barrel of a gun thing.
But the thing is, like, these past 9 months in 2021, what we have discovered is that everybody's a fucking scumbag at some sort. We're over here, like, people, like I said before, like, freaking pulling out of Afghanistan probably sent the whole military into an identity crisis.
Sure.
Yeah, and we found out that Israel is a bunch of fucking dirtbags trying to bully on a fucking Palestine is like a group, a small minimal group of people, and what we see in the media is a result of them agitating them.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a retaliation, and then they look like, oh, look at this.
No, I totally agree. I mean,
and
yeah,
it's so much that has, like, this year has revealed to a lot of people, and to me, it's just how it's not. To me, it's difficult to come up with the mental gymnastics to think everything is still okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. No, I agree with you completely on that. So, so like what you're saying is, all right. Mm-hmm. Tell me if I'm wrong, because I feel like I'm on the same page with you. And when you say that everybody's a scumbag, what you mean is people that we used to hold up on some sort of pedestal.
Yeah,
right?
like,
at least of being right? Like, oh, these guys are right. They're doing righteous stuff or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like, they're doing the right thing, right? That in reality, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Yeah,
and they're all full of shit.
Yeah,
right?
like the Democrats versus Republicans, and also they drink afterwards after they do their whole thing, their whole media.
It's the uniparty.
Yeah,
it's the uniparty. They love each other.
Yeah,
they high five each other.
Yeah, so
and I mean, literally, like Senator Lindsey Graham, and I forget what bill he was fighting for. There's footage of him in the middle of this huge thing. I forget exactly what the issue was, but then he goes up to Nancy Pelosi and gives her a high five, kind of thing. Yeah, see, exactly, that's the truth. Because you're high fiving each other because you're on the same fucking team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? The left right paradigm is bullshit.
Yeah,
right. It's the uniparty. It's the state. Right. It's a cathedral. It's all the same shit. Right. At least at the national level and any other levels as well, but especially at the national level.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, like Israel, for instance, you brought them up. I mean, U.S. Here's from a story from Reuters, right? U.S. House approves $1 billion for Israel's Iron Dome missile defense system.
Why? Why do we need to fucking pay? What? They can't fix their own Iron Dome?
Well, here's the thing is, and and I'll direct this at conservatives, right? Is because they are so hell bent on supporting Israel no matter what. And again, I just sit there and go, why?
It's because of the whole, like, we gotta help the Jewish, the Holocaust excuse of freaking all types of shit that really don't pertain to Israel as a country itself.
Yeah, and you know,
like,
and here's the thing: is the Jewish people. I have no problem with. I mean, I have no problem with any people of any kind of race, religion, whatever. Right? I love all people. Right? That's why I'm a libertarian, because it's a philosophy of peace.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want peace and prosperity for everybody. For no matter, it doesn't matter what side of the border you're born on. Right? But with that being said, I'm not for propping up states and governments, especially when they oppress anybody.
So think
right?
about this, right? It's like this person feels sorry for this kid. Like, they're having issues, they're having daddy issues because the father wasn't there, right?
Yeah.
But this kid ends up being 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They could defend themselves. It's a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Like, they could do that shit by themselves. Like, why do they need $1 billion from us?
They don't.
Why? Yeah. Why are they using my stolen tax money to do this shit?
Exactly.
And what was it, like? One of the libertarian guys said that AOC was more libertarian than Thomas Mann. just fucking.
Yeah.
When it comes to that.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's not.
Yeah, she ain't. I don't know. We know she ain't. We know she ain't, but.
Yeah, but see, the thing is, here's my opinion about a lot of these liberals and these leftists like AOC when it comes to Israel. They don't actually believe that. They don't actually believe in that whole thing. They're just, that's a tribal thing, right? They're just standing for them because that's what they have to do because they're on the left. They don't actually truly believe, you know, how do I say it? Just think of how they are with everything else, right? They believe in the state. They believe in stealing your tax dollars and giving it to other countries. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only reason they come out against Israel is because it's a tribal thing.
Yeah, it's like,
you know if it was the other way around, they would have no problem.
Elon Omar is like, why are we helping Israel? And people are calling her anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
It's like, just because we don't want to help Israel doesn't make you anti-Jew, because not everybody in Israel is Jewish. Just like how not everybody in the United States is a fucking devout Christian.
Yeah.
And it's people have this broad stroke of a brush.
For sure.
That to come up with the mental gymnastics to land on this bullshit.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, I personally do not believe that these people like her, whether it's Elon Omar, they're just saying that because it's politically expedient. So
is their own, like, what's it, political talking points?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because what I'm saying is they ain't principled. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, us as libertarians, we actually have the principle of anti-war. So I'm anti-war in Israel. I'm anti-war in Yemen. I'm anti-war in China. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it goes down the line. I don't get to pick. Oh, okay, I'm that's a bad war over there. That war sucks. But this war over here is cool. Oh, but yeah, Israel, no, they're bad. But, you know, Yemen, they're good. And Saudi, you know, I mean, no. We're on principle here, right?
Yeah.
Because like I've said before, for a state to go to war with another country, they will initiate force and aggression on innocent, peaceful people. Look
at the drone attacks.
Exactly.
They came. They're like, yeah, we didn't see anybody there. We thought it was. So they're trying to say it like they're trying to say, yeah, we didn't find anybody there.
Well, see, this is the problem that a lot of people on the right will do, and the left. They'll both say this because, I mean, this is what I mean. The left and right both love war. That's what I'm saying. I don't buy any of that bullshit. They fucking both love war because even if they hide it behind, oh, well, okay, you know, yeah, I'm not in for, you know, drone, or I'm not in for nation building or whatever, but we should just do surgical strikes, blah, 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 blah. No, that surgical strike is a 9/11 for the people you just struck.
Yeah,
you know
and the thing is, like, people those people haven't seen something that up close. When they call for shit like that, you haven't really seen up close the violence and all that. Like people are fucked up from this. You know, like
Yeah.
like even our own service members are fucked up from this.
For sure,
because
yeah.
like when they go out there and all stuff, they come back and they just can't
Function.
They just can't function after this and all that. And that to me is like people who say this, they haven't been there. They haven't seen that violence go down where you see just the light go out of somebody's fucking eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're fucking dead.
Yeah.
You know, and it's one of those things like you haven't experienced that. So a surgical fucking strike. That's fucking dumb. Like
it is dumb. It is. Because it's never actually surgical.
No.
Right? And like
it's like, oh, let's do a surgical strike with a fucking 2,000-pound bomb.
Exactly. It's just, literally, it doesn't work that way.
Like we got them eventually.
Exactly. And but here's the thing. And this is why I strongly come out against this whole bullshit about American exceptionalism. That's such bullshit. Because what that does, and the thing is, whether we realize it or not, like we're like taught that from like 5 years old. When we go to a government school, they're pounding in your head American exceptionalism. They might not say it like that, but that's what it is. Because what it is how do all these people feel? They feel so entitled and so arrogant, right? That they just brush off the killing of innocent children as nothing.
Yeah.
If anything, at least it's their kids and not ours kind of attitude, right? Like they literally cannot empathize with anybody else that's not from their own country.
Yeah.
They don't care. There's nothing to them. They're just trash, garbage, right? And we're talking about human lives. We're talking about children's lives, and they could give two fucks. Oh, because they weren't born on this side of the border, therefore they're a piece of shit and they deserve to die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like their attitude, right? Like just because I was lucky enough by chance to be born on this side of the border. Anybody on that side of the border that I deem, trash, we can just murder, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right? That's American exceptionalism. You know what I'm saying? It's just this fucking arrogance, right? That, we could do whatever the fuck we want with no consequence whatsoever. And here's the thing is when we do these kind of things, we're only creating terrorists, right? Because just put yourself in their shoes. If some country wiped out your whole family, and then their attitude was, whatever. They're just over there. They're just, it's at least there because, someone has that attitude, but they're talking about your family. Yeah. Would that not make you maybe think about hurting somebody that caused this to happen to you? You know what I mean?
Well, look, from the 20 years that the U.S. has been in Afghanistan, how many different things have popped up from us trying to chase Al-Qaeda, I think it was at the beginning? Yeah. The Taliban rose of freaking ISIS. Because ISIS was part of Al-Qaeda. Yeah. But it's a stronger, more like, hey, we're going to do this shit. And they did,
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing is, again, I'm not saying these guys are angels. No, right?
No, they're not.
But what I am saying is that they wouldn't have been around unless it was for us, for the chaos and instability that we caused, right? Like, that's the only reason they came about, right? They didn't just, like, magically fucking appear out of nowhere. Yeah. There's a cause and effect. Right? Yep. Like this cause and effect, and it's like it's like take Al-Qaeda. It's like I hate to say it because I know it sounds like I'm just sitting here bashing America, but there's reasons why. Yeah. Like Al-Qaeda, who was Al-Qaeda? They were funded and trained by U.S. tax dollars, right? Mm-hmm. By the CIA in the Afghan Soviet War. We created it was the Mujahideen. They came from the Mujahideen. We funded them. We created them. Right. So once again, right. Yeah. Al Qaeda, a cause and effect. We made that happen. Yeah. It wouldn't. What I'm saying is, they wouldn't have been created. It wouldn't have happened. The whole series of events wouldn't happen unless had we not created them in the first place. Right. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's always like the root of the cause is there always seems to be a U.S. flag on that root of the cause.
Made in USA? No. Yeah. So I think it's more like either we fund them, either we do or we don't, we still create them at some point. Like a cell of insurgents that became whatever and all that. And then now we got a new enemy. Then the U.S. got a new enemy because we got to stop them and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
When in reality, we've been in their house. Okay, so look at Afghanistan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Us pulling out. Those people running towards that plane is the most basic welfare state.
Yeah.
Think about it.
It is.
Think about it. Like we provided them with so much. Well, the U.S. has provided them so much, and also that they've been comfortable and all stuff. And all of a sudden they hear, oh, the Taliban is coming. They took over everything, and they're like, oh, we don't. They see the U.S. leaving, and they're like, no, we got it. And then that's how a lot of people get desperate and all this stuff.
Well, yeah, because the thing is, and I read this in a book I was reading by Lou Rockwell, and he said the reason that Iraq and Afghanistan would be destined to fail is because it's all socialist central planning. It's all top-down control. They basically turn the military into like socialist commissars, right? Like Soviet commissars dictating from the top.
Yeah.
Central planning how it's supposed to work, and central planning always 100% of the time fails, right? Soviet Russia, right? All these other times in history, in China, right? Until they open up their markets, they're failing miserably, right? I'd say they're failing now, but they were failing miserably then. I mean, all these other situations, Venezuela, right? Central planning, socialism. So all it was American socialism trying to run these countries. So yeah, so once whether we pulled out 15 years ago or 15 years in the future, the exact same thing was going to happen because it was always central, top-down control, and that always leads to failure, to horrible failure, and that's exactly what happened, right?
Yep,
so.
That's exactly what fucking happened, man. Like it's just.
It's inevitable.
Hey, we can run our own country, but we trying to run everybody else's, and they just implode. Exactly. Because we expect them to run under the 40 something years of like that we've been running our country in,
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work because first of all, culture is different.
Yeah, that's
even
the big
here in the U.S. we got dozens of culture differences and also right. So but we got like something that in the U.S. we got something that it's united. At the end of the day, it's something that's everybody comes to like. Okay, we have rights. We have all this stuff. Anybody, if they go out somewhere else and also to try and build the same thing that we have, they are destined to fail because we don't have we just be like, whoa, you should know this. It's like we're yelling at them, you should know this. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, it's just.
Well, I mean, here's the thing is, I'm not so convinced that we over here are, like I was saying, anything special, right? Like, yes, we have the shared bond of Western culture from, ancient Greece through ancient Rome. You had Socrates and Aristotle and Cicero and, and then you had St. Augustine and St. Aquinas and, and then, John Locke and Rousseau and Hobbes and Adam Smith. And so my point is, we've had this tradition in the Western culture, or with Western culture of a linear thing, which they don't have. But even with that being said, I wouldn't say that our system is that much. I mean, yes. I mean, it's hard to say because yes, it has been successful. Yes, but at the same time, we
have been successful because it's a slow burn.
True.
It's been like.
Yeah, you're right.
How many years have we lasted trying to ban and we banned slavery, finally?
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it was kind of in the works before, like during independence, and somebody was like, "Well, yeah, sure," and then just and those one of those things.
There has been progress in that sense. But I guess what I'm trying to say is our democratic system, though, to me, there's the reason why we have so many problems is because of that system, and that the progress and success we've had in many ways is in spite of all that shit, right? Because we've had a shitload of government intervention, like the central planning, that socialist central planning that was destined to fail in these other countries that we're dealing with. There's a lot of that shit going on over here too, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say a lot of the success we've had has been in spite of all that, not because of that.
But what do we have here that it doesn't feel as miserable as it feels in other countries, where they just go into full blown meltdown and all that? And what do we have over here? Because I think the status system, right? I'm gonna say, like, we may have a social democratic system, but it's still this republic. It's just a mix of things, right? That they won't let it fail. And I don't know. I personally don't know what the fuck it is, like specifically. But we don't let those things like fail, like how other countries. I'm thinking we're at that point where we're too big to fail. But then look at China; they're about to hit that.
Yeah.
But I know for us, we have hit that bottom, but we haven't hit it as bad as they're about to hit it.
Yeah, but see, I would say that is so. Why have we not had meltdowns, right? Because we still have a culture that generally speaking, embraces the rule of law. All right.
Yeah.
And we still have a capitalistic system that at least is capitalistic enough, even though it's not.
Yeah,
right?
I think it's just such a mixture of everything that with the people that try and oppose, like, oh, I oppose capitalists over what's the socialism and also and vice versa. And it's like we're in a weird system where like they both work together and it won't let it fail.
But see, I don't know if I agree with that because what I'm saying is the reason we've been so successful is because we've embraced markets for the most part, and that the central planning, the Keynesian, the Marxian, all the interventionists, that only has held us back, and that we will be even more successful had those things been out of the way. So what I'm saying is those things, it might have been a mix, like you're saying, but the success came in spite of the mix, not because of the mix. And if we get those things out of the way, then we could have even more, then it's infinite, the progress that we could, like the growth will be infinite. Like,
but I think when it comes to that, it's, I don't know, I just feel like we have a big system of those mix and also and I seriously think that, like you say, in spite of, I don't think it's because of like the insane mixture of craziness that we have as a country. It's like a big mess that moves in unison. You know what I mean? Like synchronized swim. You know, it's just...
Yeah, but see, there's nothing that's synchronized swimming. That's what they try to do in central planning. They try to synchronize it. And there is no synchronization, right? It's millions and millions and millions of decisions being made every second, right? We're all making different decisions on what we do at every second, every single person, period, in this country. And around the world, period. But like, and that's the dynamic here.
Yeah.
Right? It's when you try to synchronize shit, right, that you have
But
disaster.
I don't think it'll completely, well, I'm gonna eat my words back up again. So like I think they're now all gonna synchronize because of how the states are ran and all that. Like the states are all we're the United States, but every state is kind of like a small country when it comes to their own laws and all. So we all may have similar ones. But
yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like we're talking about a few different things at once. So when it comes to, if we just take the single issue of what you mentioned about why don't we melt down, and that we've had some very low points, but we still pulled it off.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's because of the mix of the system. I'm saying that we might have pulled it off, but we would have done much better if we didn't have the mixture. You know what I'm saying?
But like, okay, so with that, I would say look at the other systems that have been on other countries where they only use one of those systems.
But there isn't though, right? There isn't anywhere that's pure one way or another.
Yeah, so like,
or the close.
Nowadays there's not.
Yeah.
But like back then, like the breakup of the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
and all that stuff, like
for sure. For sure.
That was, but because it was socialist, and you know we are a socialist society when it comes to how the taxes and how the welfare state.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
But the capitalist side, I think probably the capitalist side is what keeps it at bay.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I think we're
Wow. I just did 3 flips right into your fucking court. Okay. Never mind. The 3 fucking flips right into your fucking court. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. Yeah. So,
but is that just that balance where like sometimes I think we're just too big to fail when it comes to that, like how these countries just go into full blown meltdown, and but like China is about to prove that we're not too big to fail.
I don't believe we're not too big to fail at all. Yeah, I think that's not true at all. I mean, we've used certain things. So we use certain things like the Federal Reserve and all these things to put us on life support, right? Because corrections need to be made, right? Like we do have some major corrections that need to be made economically, right? That are being prevented from being made because things like the Federal Reserve give us just enough boost to keep going, but the actual problem, like they take care of the symptoms, but not take care of the problem.
Yeah.
Like all the malinvestment and all the speculation and all the stuff that keeps us going, and all the all the liquidity, right? The printing of dollars. Like
I don't understand why why these people. It feels like we do things and we lack foresight. Like just like, hey, how about we like.
Because we do lack foresight.
Yeah, like
because that's the problem with this quote unquote democratic system, right? Because that's like the Hoppian argument of monarchs versus democracy, right? Not that they actually believe in monarchs, just like I don't believe in a monarch, but the difference is that if you have a monarch, it's in their best interest to create a society that has the most peace and prosperity. That way, the people won't overthrow them.
Yeah.
Right. So they get to, it's about their bloodline, their son, the kids taking over. Like their family's going to be running this geographical area. So therefore, it's in their best interest to be a benevolent dictator, right? Like they want, because they don't want the people to rise up against them. So they have to think long term. They have to have the foresight.
Yeah.
Right. Versus a democracy, quote unquote, where you have politicians that only go into office for X amount of time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, typically, I mean, we don't necessarily have term limits, but I mean, top down from all the government offices, from the president where it's 8 years to, Congress they get voted for 2 years, Senate for 6 years, all this kind of stuff. So what I'm saying is they only care about the next election. What can I accomplish to make me look good?
So I can get reelected.
So I can get reelected, other than how do I make a policy for the whole country to look good for a generation?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? The incentives are different. And that's why we have no foresight, because people don't care. Like, oh, I need to look good for this election coming up. So 2022 is just around the corner. Like I need this to look good for 2022, and 2024.
Yeah, that's for re-election. That's why that 88-year-old Iowan is gonna fucking run again.
Yeah,
he's gonna run for re-election.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Old crippled ass.
Yeah, Senator Chuck Grassley, 88, to seek re-election in Iowa. First elected in 1980. Will be running for his 8th term.
See, this motherfucker's Carl Vincent, bro.
So the problem is here that these guys are so corrupt, right? Just like Nancy Pelosi, right? And all these other politicians. Yeah. They're so corrupt that they know that the moment they get out of office, that investigations could easily open up on them and they could end up in prison. All right. So to prevent that from happening, they have to keep the machine going, and to provide them cover, and they have to stay in office till the day they fucking die, right? Because that's the cover right there, right? They're so corrupt.
This dude has probably great grandkids, man.
And of course he does. I mean, he's 88 right now. He probably has great grandkids.
Yeah, and like, go retire happy. Like, if they come for you, they're gonna use that old man excuse, like, no, he's dying. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, because like, I think he's one of the only, because like those like what, like 4 or 5 that they just said, hey, I am running running again and all stuff, and he was probably one of the only ones that said like, yeah, I'm gonna run again and see, and that because strength in numbers, and that's what
I mean.
People
the thing
believe,
is, like,
even though like you may be Republican, but you can vote for.
Well, the thing is, I mean,
conservative values.
Well, but here's the thing: is we have all these old fucks in there, right?
Yeah.
Like, there should be a fucking age limit, you know? Let alone term limits. That'll never happen. But age limits, I mean, come on. I mean, we're trying to put geriatric people in office to rule over us. You know what I'm saying? They get to vote to take our money and our rights away. You know what I mean? Like, at least get people like. Look, I'm not saying that 25-year-olds should go to fucking Congress, but like, maybe in your 40s, 50s, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but an old dude like that, he should be concentrating on other things than just running whatever.
We're run by oligarchs, and he's one of them. You know what I mean? Like, so this, you know, it's just, this goes into my thing where my real belief is that on the national level, like everything we've been talking about is national shit, right?
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that we have no chance. 0 chances of fixing this country at the national level, right? If you believe in freedom and liberty, right? If you believe in the NAP, if you believe in private property rights, if you believe in that you own yourself, self-ownership, and if you believe in a free, open, prosperous society, it ain't gonna happen at the national level. No. It ain't gonna happen. It'll never happen. It's a broken, corrupt system, and it's just not going to happen, you know? And I'm all for using the political machinery to fix things, but to do that, we have to do it at the local level. Yeah. We have to.
Well, the local is what affects us most, and also all these like really, really dumb things that are happening is more local than it
Absolutely.
Is.
Absolutely.
It is freaking. Because like national level may affect us, may not, but it's like, it'll be something that's like a broad stroke that by some reason it's gonna affect us. Like,
but here. So here's the thing, is, and I'll say this in 2 parts, right? So the first part is, the reality is, if we've had Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, right? If you take the average citizen in their day-to-day life, and someone who isn't necessarily connected to like the military or something like that, right? Just like a regular person, your average Joe, right? And if they were to have not paid attention whatsoever to the news, right, the last 15 whatever years of these presidents, their day-to-day life would really have no different. Like, there's no point they'd be like, oh, right now it's Obama, or oh, right now it's Trump, or oh, right now, you know what I mean? They've been in their daily life, in regards to who the difference in their life between who was the president would have made no difference. The differences would have been from the local government, right? And COVID proved that, where it was the governors and the local mayors. Like, if your life was dramatically changed in the last year and a half, it was because of shit that happened locally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it was because of shit that happened locally, because either a governor or a mayor or city council or a county commissioner or something, one of these people, their policies are what affected you, right? It's not so much what the president did or what Congress did per se. You know what I mean? I'm not, of course those people have effects, but I'm saying what really, like, the in-your-face stuff was stuff that was at the local level. I mean, even if you could say even roads, if you go out and drive down the street and you get caught up in construction, it's your local government that's affecting that. You know what I mean? Like, those, you know, if you walk into stores and had to wear masks or whatever, it was local ordinances, right? If your businesses was shut down, it was local governments that shut down businesses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was all, it's a local level. So the only way, and so even when you said, from the national, they could have the broad strokes that could affect you.
Yeah.
But if you were to politically take over your local communities, right? To get that community to embrace liberty, right? And have people of like mind to run those communities,
yeah,
right? Then it doesn't matter what the national, what that national broad stroke would be, because you just turn your back on them.
Yeah.
And now imagine if you had that with not just one community, but hundreds and hundreds of communities. Like today I heard that there are 85,000 plus local governments across the country, right? Like whether it be cities, school districts, school boards, towns, like there's over 85,000. So even if you took 10%, 8,500 of those, if you had 8,500 communities that embraced liberty, all right, and passed their own laws, and it was all adapting to that specific community.
I'd say there's probably at least one in New Hampshire.
Yeah, exactly, right? So imagine they had that, like say you had 10% of the 85,000. That's 8,500 communities.
Yeah.
Do you think that the feds are going to do anything about that? They literally won't have the manpower or the funding to do anything about that.
Yeah.
They'll be outnumbered. There'll be so many cities and towns and school districts and this and that. They're just like, yeah, no, whatever. We're going to do what we want to do. Right?
Yeah.
That they're literally not going to have these agencies. It's not like they have hundreds and thousands of agents. And no, they don't. Like they're already spread thin and underfunded as they are, even though they have these huge bloated budgets. But that's because of fraud and all the stuff that goes into that, right?
Yeah, and the used military weapons that they get from the government.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but I'm just saying, like, federal agencies.
Yeah.
Right? Federal agencies would
federally. Okay.
Yeah, the federally they'd have a trouble.
Not the cops. Yeah,
not the cops. Because what I'm saying is, if you took over your cops, right? If like people like you and me took over our police stations, took over our local towns, privatized police, like whatever we needed to do, right? Then it's the same concept when it's to like fighting these mandates or fighting the lockdowns, like shit that didn't happen, or fighting wearing masks, right? Like,
yeah,
if a plane full of people, right, like a 737 packed, and one guy doesn't wear a mask,
they remove that guy.
Well, the guy's gonna get arrested.
Yeah,
when they land,
and then reaccommodated in the best.
Well, but the point is that they're going to drag them off the plane and everybody's going to cheer.
Or no. What the trend is that they're taping them to the fucking seat.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is they're just going to be a martyr in the way that most people are. Tyrannical sheep are most people these days. So they'll probably ridicule, laugh at them, and be like, "Yeah, that's what you deserve, right?" And so no change will happen. Like that guy was a martyr for nothing, right?
Yeah.
But if you say that the entire plane refused to wear a mask, like every single person, could be hundreds of people, then they ain't gonna do shit. Say that the next plane did that, and the next plane. Say that now 50 planes did it. Say 100 planes did it. Then we beat them. You know what I'm saying?
You know where it happened? It happened to those Democrats leaving Texas. Nobody said shit.
That's true. See, case in point.
No one said shit. They didn't kick them all. I'd be like, hey, the fuck out.
I mean, and the same thing goes with.
Then again, they took a charter plane.
Yeah,
so.
Take because they're a special class of people though. They're better than us, so we're just peasants compared to them. But but the thing is, like, take the lockdowns, when they're shutting businesses down and all this stuff, right? Take a strip mall. Like, I remember driving through LA and seeing entire huge strip malls, and it looked like the apocalypse happened because they're all just boarded up and shut and nothing's happening, right? I'm just like, damn.
You go out for air and it's fucking quiet. Nobody's doing anything.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, rather than bend the knee to in this case was city and state governments, right? Rather than bend the knee, how about if that entire strip mall have all those different individual businesses within that strip mall? We're like, yeah, fuck that. We're staying open, and we're staying open at full capacity. And then the community supported them by utilizing their business. And then, maybe, like, I know that there was, like, one restaurant in LA or somewhere where the city cut off their power, right? And then they got generators, right? And continued on. And then eventually the police, like, stopped they put a barrier up between the generators. So they,
Yeah.
so, you know what I mean? But because that was one business. But again, imagine a strip mall with, like, 15 businesses and with their own generators.
Yeah.
And I know I'm asking a lot here, but just imagine that the community came together and have their back.
You're not asking a lot because you have to understand that there's 300 million people in this country, right? And I'm pretty sure somebody out there, a group of people out there, are gonna do it.
Well, but what I'm saying is they didn't do it when it really mattered in regards to the lockdown
that we heard of.
But we would have heard if the entire strip mall had done it. We heard of individual businesses doing it, and they got destroyed. They got fucking stampeded. Yeah. But what I'm saying is if you had an entire, like, say, strip mall, 15, 20 businesses, and say now take 3-4 strip malls with 15, 20 businesses across the city, and all the local community members going to those businesses and patronizing them, right?
Yeah.
And then the police come and say that, and again, I know there's a reach, but say that these businesses hired their own security, right? So you have these booming businesses with all these customers, and now the police show up, and now you have private security outside, and you have these booming businesses. The police are going to back down. You know what I'm saying? Like, they ain't going to do shit because, we have 10 other strip malls that are doing this.
They're going to be met with security, but like, hey, what are you doing?
Exactly.
Who called you?
Exactly. This is what I mean. And, if it was just one strip mall with 3 or 4 businesses, then you're going to be overrun. But now take a full strip mall, 15, 20 businesses, and times that by, say, 3, 4 other strip malls, block after block. They ain't going to do shit. Right?
Yeah.
But no one has the balls to do. I know it's easy for me to say this, but no one had the balls to do this, and that's why it. And one reason why is because of the tyrannical sheep, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's on the state side in the first place.
I know. I guess we've been beaten down enough mentally in these lockdowns that, like, people just.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, we have to take our communities back, though, and it might be a fight where it's like one person at a time. You know what I mean? And that's why it's also dead at the national level, because say you take a town or a city with like 400,000, 500,000 people, okay? And they're all heavily one side, heavily blue, heavily red, whatever. That is already a daunting task to take over that town with liberty, right? With liberty-minded people and taking them, making libertarians out of these people, right? Converting one by one. It's already a daunting task. But that's still 100 million times easier than, say, you took the national, if you even could, which you couldn't, but just say that we're at the top of the national scene, and now you got to convert 330 million people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll take the task of trying to convert 400,000 versus 330 million. Like, you're probably more successful on the lower end of this. You know what I mean? And that's another reason why we need to attack, quote unquote attack. But what I mean is convert and take over these local communities.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to make change. That's the only way to affect change, is we have to start from the bottom, right? It has to be a movement from the bottom, because the national scene, you got people, 88-year-old fucking dude, right? Like,
great-grandpa fucking.
Yeah, I mean, like,
thinking that he has a duty to fucking run again. And, man, get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. And, it's much, much easier to, even if you had someone on a local level that was the equivalent of that, it would be much easier to unseat someone at a local level, right, who's been in there forever. If
that dude could be easily unseated because he's been there for so long, and he's probably been there like just like, oh yeah, I'm running, and then just
6 terms, so like 48, 50 years. You know what I mean? And the problem is when you have someone who's been there for so long, he's part of the establishment, that he has all the establishment money and super structured, right? That's why it's hard to unseat these guys. I'm not saying it's impossible. It happens, but it's hard because they have the entire machine, the political machine behind them, right? They have all the funding. It's all entrenched, and that's why it's hard to take these guys. That's why they sit there for so long.
Well, because and the thing is, like, what was it, like, who AOC unseated freaking the one cat that has been just resting on his laurels, and you know what I mean, like,
that's what I'm saying. It can happen.
It can happen, and also happen. Because like one thing's like I've seen like where like she went out in the streets like every fucking day and all that stuff, and that's what people saw. Like, oh shit, like, look, she over here all over the fucking place, and this dude
Exactly,
Yeah.
because the current power structures are so complacent that's where those openings come.
Yeah.
Right, because they have all that money and backing and entrenchment that they feel they don't have to do that. Right, and in some cases they can be taken out, but the reason why they're there for so long in the first place was because of the machine that has their back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're oligarchs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are fucking oligarchs. So again, this is why I say we need to take our local communities, right? Like we start from the bottom and we work our way up from there. And it might take a generation or two, but it's all about the fight, right? That we don't just give in, right? We don't become all, what we call agorists, right?
Yeah.
Agorists are like ANCAPs that don't want nothing. Like agorists call like if you're in the Mises Caucus or the Libertarian Party, they're going to call you a statist. Because they're so extreme they don't want nothing.
So they want like Ancapistan, like to the max.
To the max.
Yeah.
Now my only thing is I'm fine with that. If that's what you want to do as a libertarian, go for it, right? But here's what I'm worried about is y'all go and create your agorist society, right?
Yeah.
And I just don't want you to get Waco'd. You know what I'm saying? I don't want you to get Ruby Ridge, and that's why I believe we participate in the political machine, even though I really don't believe in voting to the, I believe in defensive voting, but I don't even trust that, right? But,
so being libertarian, it's a really, I won't say difficult position. It's just a position where like we can all live. Like
exactly.
if you think about it, we're like we can all live. It's like we're not and to think that way, it seems ludicrous nowadays because these people, these statists will take the one side or the other and they just triple, double, fucking quadruple down on it.
Yeah, it's tribalism. They're trying to impose it. Both sides of the left-right paradigm do it. They try to impose their viewpoints onto other people.
Where it's just like we can like, and to have that simple logic, philosophical idea of like, hey, let's talk about this, and we come to maybe a compromise. It's foreign to them.
It's definitely foreign to them.
It's like it's like identity politics and all that. Like these people like go hardcore. Like think about the freaking what was that abortion shit that happened in Texas.
Yeah,
and all that stuff, and it's like, and that almost threw the Libertarian Party into a twist because of like people wanted to know whose side or what the fuck when the whole in the Libertarian Party just say, hey, it's a sensitive subject, and they put a really neutral statement on it, or is it the Mises Caucus? I think it was a really neutral statement. It's like, hey, either or we're not focusing on that, and
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring on. I have a friend of mine who is, I guess he's really knowledgeable in this topic. I'm going to bring him on the show, and he's going to discuss that whole bill and how it affects everything. But the primary thing about the Libertarian Party is that they have a neutral stand, pretty much. I mean, they're pretty much pro-choice. I believe it's pro-choice as the official Libertarian Party platform, and but they acknowledge that there's I forget the word here, but there's like on both sides of the argument they make. I forget the word they use, but they essentially what they mean is they both have their credible points on both sides, right? The Mises Caucus in particular, a lot of the head guys like Dave Smith, Tom Woods, and a lot of these like big time Mises Caucus guys, right? They are pro-life personally. And because of that, a lot of blue pill libertarians, mainstream, will kind of bash them on that. But the reality is that the Mises Caucus is split, just like a lot of these big issues.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's a personal belief, and also, it doesn't have to be, hey, I believe in abortion, so should you. It's opinions. It's not fact. We know, like, my opinion shouldn't affect you, and I'm not gonna sit there and try and squeeze all my opinions into your head until you beat you, until you be like, me too.
That's because we truly are libertarian, right? It's to each his own. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to impose my belief on you. You don't have to impose it on me. I mean, I believe in liberty, moving away from abortion, but just in general, I believe in liberty, and I'm always gonna preach it to people, but I'm not trying to impose it on them, right? Because that's the beauty of this, is that I ain't imposing shit on you, right? I'll defend myself if attacked, but I'm not gonna like offensive. Like I'm not gonna go on the offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, like it's just I'm just stating. These are my beliefs, and I'm gonna tell you the benefits of that. Right now, when it comes to abortion and these big ticket ideas, the thing I like about the Mises Caucus in particular is that that's not the top priorities. Yeah. Right? We have all these other things that we can actually unite on, these libertarian populist things we could all agree on as libertarians. Yeah. Right? As an Americans that believe in freedom, right? Like whether it be against the COVID regime, whether it be against, empire, whether it be against the Federal Reserve and manipulating currencies and printing off trillions of dollars, whether it be civil liberties, whether it be corporate welfare, whether it be against the welfare state itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these libertarian populist ideas that we could focus our energy on instead of focusing on all the divide and conquer stuff. Yeah. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, look, we fix all these other problems, right? And then we could focus on that. It's kind of like the minarchist versus anarchist debate, right? Like we could sit here and talk about like
what do I want to run me and all stuff, and
well, we could sit here and be like, Ancapistan versus minarchism, but at the end of the day, we're so beyond that. We have such a huge like the biggest government in history, and let's focus on that before we start debating. I'm not saying we can't have friendly debates about philosophical debates about minarchism and ANCAPism, right? But what I'm saying is, when it really comes to the fight, though, we don't need to focus on that. Yeah. Right? Like, that's like the unity movement in the Libertarian Party. It's like, we might as well fight the state, because there's no point in demonizing any other groups of people. That gets us nowhere. But I'm all for demonization. Let's demonize the right thing, which is the cathedral, the state. Yeah. That's what needs to be demonized, because they're the ones who are causing so much chaos on society and peaceful people. Yeah. Right? So, you got anything else you want to talk about?
Nah, I'm good, man. I'm good on that.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's all I got. I mean, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me again, bro. Like, anytime.
Yeah, no problem, man. I don't think
I got anything better to do.
All right, and if you guys have still been hanging in there with us, I really appreciate it. This is Aaron Burr, and you've been listening to the Free Thought Doctrine.